All right, good morning, folks. How you doing? Good. Okay, so I'm Jenny. This is Mary. We're going to walk you through that is not solid, and if I lean on it, it will fall over. Good to know. I'm here to talk about AI for accessibility. You may have seen that on the keynote stage. Did you all see that at the end? Yes. Audience participation, good thing. What I want to do is give you some context as to why the heck we're pursuing this. Why accessibility you're hearing about a lot at Microsoft. Give you some of that lens of why this is all coming to the fore before we walk you through a ton of the crazy demos of stuff that we have been doing, and then give some sense of what we want to see from the program, or that we'd love to see, knowing that there could be some crazy stuff out there that we haven't even imagined yet. So let me first give you some context of what and why we're pursuing this. So disability, the basics. Let's just get them out of the way so we all know why we're here and what we're talking about. So disability is something that impacts 2 out of 3 of us. All right, so just give me a quick show of hands. Who knows someone or are someone with a disability? Friend, relative? Okay, so you're the odd one out. That was about 95% of the room. And that statistic kind of goes to everywhere and everyone. And I think disability used to be framed as something that was very much about the individual. It was something that was broken about the individual. You were impaired. In fact, that term is still used in some parts of the world. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's a different model. And it's very appropriate in some countries, and it's very appropriate for some times. But we absolutely love and adore that the World Health Organization redefined disability, and they redefined it as a mismatch between an individual and the environment in which they're in, which I think is just crucially important when you think about the absolute demographics that we have on disability around the world. Disability is around 1 billion plus, right? 1 billion plus. I love the word billion, by the way, when you match that with the word minority. I don't generally associate minority with 1 billion, but it's still classified as such. It impacts, depending on which number you look at, about 1 in 5 of us. It comes at any point in your life. In fact, the lowest percentage of people who are born with disabilities. Most people, it is acquired. And so as you get into the 60s, and apologies for anyone who are beautifully entering this period, but it is about 1 in 2. So if you're not in my cool gang today, you are likely to join it at some point, and welcome. It is also something that is that can hit you at any point in time, right? It can be a temporary thing. It doesn't have to be a permanent gig. It doesn't have to be something that you get on any sense of a long-term future perspective. It could be a broken leg. It can be anxiety, PTSD that happens from an event. It really is broad, and we actually look at 6 segments of disability. We look at deafness, blindness, mobility. Yeah, you're writing these down, good luck. Deafness, blindness, mobility, speech, cognitive and neurodiverse, and mental health. And we do look across the spectrum of that, and also understanding that disability doesn't mostly come in onesies. We are complex species. That's humans for you. It can come in a myriad of complex combinations as well. And so as designers, as nerds that we are at Microsoft, we tend to think that this is rather important. Not just because these are our customers, these are our employees, but also because it gives us a beautiful aspect to design through. If you just think about how much this gig enters day-to-day world. I'm inherently lazy. I tend to walk around. You'll see me with a coffee mug constantly in my hand. It never leaves my side. I may have been here now for 12 years. I didn't know what real coffee was before I came to the States. I really do now, and I carry it with me everywhere. But I also am a full-time nerd. I've been at Microsoft 13 years, so my laptop is always in my other hand. And so you'll see me opening power doors, using power doors with elbows, with knees, with leg kicks that look glamorous but really aren't. That's laziness. That's got nothing to do with my disability. And in fact, if you look at the history of things like talking books. Talking books came out of designing books for the blind. now look at the success of things like Audible. So there's a lot of history there that comes into why it's important to us. So 97 was when Bill Gates said this was a really important thing for the company. That's when we first put people into the area of accessibility at Microsoft. And over the years, we've had a myriad of investments, some great, some haven't produced what we've wanted. In 20 years, you generally get a little bit of boom and bust. And at the same time, there's also been bubbles of communities at Microsoft, so people with disabilities at Microsoft. When I joined, again, 13 years ago, 2005, there were 6 groups, and 3 of those actually started 20 years ago. Our Huddle group, which is our deaf community, our VIP group, visually impaired persons, which is not the politically correct term anymore, but they love being called VIPs, and also our ADD group, right? Those were some of the first, and actually our parents of kids with autism was also one of the first ones, and is still our biggest group at Microsoft today. You weasel that forward, in fact, that's how I got into this gig. I joined Microsoft to work on Hotmail in Europe. Anyone remember the butterfly? Some of you old enough, maybe a couple. It was a really good thing at the time. I was in Europe, working across Europe on that sort of stuff, but I'm also severely, profoundly deaf. I can't hear you. You all sound like George Clooney. I thought that Microsoft was going to be the perfect place for a deaf person. Because clearly at Microsoft, no one talks to one another. Everyone emails or IMs. That was the concept and the lens that I came to the company with a little bit. I didn't disclose to the full extent of my disability. I went through my interviews and clearly guessed the questions through my lip reading pretty well. I got some right, I got the job. But it was only when I got in the company that I realized that I was going to have to communicate with people in multiple meetings in lots of different languages, potentially voices speaking at the same time, if you can imagine that. Sometimes loudly, although I don't have concept of volume. So it was then that I actually joined the deaf group, then joined every other group, because I'm rather nosy, and found that they were all saying some of the same stuff, which is, how do I speak to my manager about this? What's available for me as an employee in the company? Shouldn't we be doing some crazy, nerdy, crazy stuff? Because aren't we a techie company? And accessibility. And that's really my journey into this, and I became CAO just a couple of years ago. So we've had this long investment, and in fact, the first feature, who's heard of sticky keys? Anyone seen sticky keys, either use it or an annoying little pop-up that comes up? We're fixing that. Sticky keys was 94, just to give some concept, right? This gig's been around a long time. So if you now look at what we've been doing in the last few years, if I go back to 2014, 2015, we really started to kick this thing into a new gear. We kind of realized that we had this massive swell of employee work happening. In fact, I'm leaving here and going back to prep meetings for our big conference, which is coming up the end of the month, which will be our 8th Ability Summit, which we've done internally. This will be the 8th year. And for the first time, we're making it external on the 31st of May. And I remember the first time we had that meeting, I had 80 people in the room, which really meant about 20 people in the room at any one time, because we added them all up at the end of the day. And we thought that was a raving success. And I know that we're going to hit around 1,000, 1,200 employees in the employee day, let alone when we open the doors to the public at the end of May. So we've got this raving success happening here, but we wanted to really start to bring that into our products and start to really meld that in. And so just a couple of things of what we were able to do here is think about 4 things, about making accessibility just part of what we do. I mean, if there's any goal that I have in the job that I sit in, it's to make accessibility part of our DNA. Everything that we design and build, everything that we ship and launch. And so the first is culture. And I'm only going to spend a couple of minutes just walking through a couple of these, and then I'm going to turn on to the really important stuff. But just to give you a sense of why culture matters, I want to play this quick video.
A man enters the lobby of an office building.
When I was diagnosed with autism, the psychologist explained it like there were very limited career capacity for me.
Before I came to Microsoft, I was struggling to get employment, and I had these skills in math, but nobody was giving me interviews, and it didn't seem to be going well. I worked a couple of minimum wage jobs. It was work, it paid the bills, but I definitely could feel that I was destined for something more.
I feel like I get to have a pretty significant impact on Microsoft.
By having people with disabilities in the fabric of our company, you're building in a diverse workforce that then represents the 1 billion people with disabilities out there. We're going to be building better products, we're going to be building better services, websites, anything that we do will work across the spectrum of being human.
And so every time we get an opportunity to bring somebody in who can see things from a different angle, every time that happens, that's where we find these great creative types who can come in and help us deliver the things that we care about.
Microsoft started the Autism Hiring Program to find candidates in a non-traditional way based on their unique talents.
I'm Cody Takayoshi, and I'm a software engineer at Xbox Live.
My name is Joey Chemis, and I'm a data scientist here at Microsoft.
MJ Gardner, software engineer on Azure build pipelines and engineering systems.
There is just an incredibly high unemployment and underemployment rate when it comes to autism. Our traditional hiring process, that's not going to allow someone with autism to show up and show their strengths. Since 2015, talented individuals through the Autism Hiring Program have landed full-time jobs across the company.
For me, the Autism Hiring Program was the chance to finally, make it. You're saying, here's the things that come with autism that the standard interview process would flag. Here's how we accommodate those issues and make them less of an issue. And here's how we allow the person to really shine and show their true colors and abilities.
I think this is just a better way of evaluating. This is probably a better way for anyone.
With Jenny Leigh Fleury, Chief Accessibility Officer. People are looking for companies that reflect humanity. There is incredible talent out there in the marketplace that should be in our company.
This program has given me a mirror to reflect on the things that make me different, or how could I maybe change the way that I work in order to bring some of these experiences forward.
My hope for the future is that we won't see this as a program, but instead a natural way to recruit key talent in our organizations.
So if I was talking to a younger version of myself, I would let myself know that you're gonna do really cool things and that you're gonna major in math, you're gonna really love it, and that you're gonna end up getting a really cool job at Microsoft that you just enjoy. The people, the work, the type of problems that are being solved.
So to be here is just really cool. I'm very proud of where I am.
Microsoft logo. Visit Microsoft.com/inclusive hiring or email us at msautism@Microsoft.com.
You can clap, it's okay. All right, it's just one sense of just how you can really start to infuse your culture in a different way. The bottom line is that people with disabilities, if you're gonna have accessibility at the core, if you're gonna make sure that your products work for everyone, you've gotta have the experts in the core and the fabric of your company. It's a logic no-brainer. And so autism's one of many programs that we have to bring folks in, and what we found is that we were the blockers. Our interview process sucked for people with autism, because you ask even my 10-year-old with autism, who's precocious, and my daughter, so she's got many challenges in her life. But with autism, she's not gonna answer the question of, what are your strengths? She would say, well, my mom says, if you ask her weaknesses, she'll give you a long list, right? Super long list, right? People are not known to amplify themselves in an interview, and apparently 80% of us in interview do somewhat fudge the truth. People with autism, autistic, generally not so much, right? So not gonna play so well in interviews, so we ditched it. We also have really focused on hackathons. Hackathons, just ridiculously big for us. And the biggest way for us to motivate 125,000 nerds is to really look at the lens of innovation, and you're gonna see some of that coming through. And just to give you a sense, 2014 we had 10 hacks. The first one was the eye gaze, and actually building an eye gaze wheelchair for a guy called Steve Gleason in Louisiana. Anyone heard of him? You need to look him up, people. He's amazing. He's a Seattle, Spokane native. And seeing if we could move his wheelchair with his eyes, which we were able to do with a lot of duct tape. That was 10 projects, 75 people. Last year we had 850 people and 150 different projects. And you'll see some of how those are coming into our products. And in the same vein, inclusive design. right? Which is the simple principle that if you design through the lens of human, including disability, you will create better products. Accessibility should never be an afterthought. In fact, if you don't know how accessible your stuff is, it's not. You have to have applied manual thought into your product, your website, your SharePoint, your documents. You need to have invested. And the easiest and best way to do that is at the beginning of the process, not the day before you ship. And so weaving inclusive design into how we work as a company has been crucial. And this has begun to net some results, right? If we look at it and we start sharing a lot more of these, I'll just give you some sense, and then Mary's going to walk you through a lot more of the cool stuff of what this has been able to bring. First is learning tools. Anyone heard of this? A couple. Oh, guys, you are going to have so much fun after here. So, Learning Tools, a 2015 hackathon project. It was aiming to build a new set of reading capability for kids with dyslexia. And it's really actually a simple concept, but grounded in a ton of research and science, which is if you segment the words, the syllabification, if you alter the colors, if you think about the spacing of words, you will and do increase reading rates. And we tested this with kids in schools, about a 10% difference. And it's as simple, because it's now embedded in not just OneNote, but Word, Edge. It's a click of a button. And that click of a button means that it's suddenly you change this into what works for you. You can also then hit read aloud and have it spoken to you. So you're altering the way that a kid can interact in a classroom, right? You may not have to have that kid stepping out to use specialized tools. They can just click the button, which is on the toolbar in Office, and immerse themselves. And this has got 12 million active monthly users right now. And this was a hack project, people. If I look at another one that's beginning to come through, which is the start of our AI journey. Image recognition is such a huge opportunity for us, and you're going to see some cooler stuff. And not that this isn't supremely cool, but you are going to see some more of this. But this is kind of one of those core foundational elements that as you start to think about the technology, the human element, you look at alt text. Who knows what alt text is? Okay, awesome, because normally I ask that question, everyone's like, zip. Alt text are the descriptions behind pictures, crucial to people with low vision and blindness. In fact, when I started looking at an inventory of what our alt text was on some of our stores, this is several years ago, the most common alt text, and bear with my humor here, but this is true, was, "This is a picture." Now, if you know what alt text is, you'll realize that that is utterly and totally useless, because alt text is the descriptive words to describe what is in the picture, not the fact that there is one. And so, there is a lot of manual reliance today. You have to write in alt text. You should all be writing in alt text. But what we've been able to do is actually make this a much more automatic gig. So this is now automatically embedding alt text, PowerPoint, Word, and also if you're a narrator user, which is our screen reader in Windows, you can now just scroll through the picture and it will grab the description of what is the picture and tell you what that is with the degree of confidence, and then you can edit it. Really simple stuff, but really big impact. And then PowerPoint Designer, which is just one that was done for mobility. If you just think about who builds slides? All right, I'm a softie, so I build a lot of slides. We love to communicate via PowerPoint. We think it's very powerful. And you have to grab the picture, shape the picture, drag it around, move it where you want it, make it look pretty, before you can publish and use that slide. Well, instead now you can just drag down the picture, and when you've got the picture in, it will create powerful, professional-looking slides for you. Crucial to someone with mobility, like Jessica on my team who has muscular dystrophy, who loves this feature to death. But one-click slides, man, who doesn't love that? So again, you're designing great things through the lens of disability. And there's been plenty other projects, but really I want to start getting into the innovation space. This is Torino, which is also a key one in the UK. Not everything is British and cool. but this one absolutely is. And this is teaching blind kids how to code using 3D objects. Each of them have different tactile symbols on them, and when you plug them together in the right way, they play music. They will also teach you the concepts of nested groups, and there's an app that you can go to that is accessible that you can then check out and actually look at the code that goes behind it. Teaching 7 to 11-year-olds code, none of the coding stuff out there today is accessible to blind kids, right? Again, you have to have methodical thought in your apps, in your environment to make them accessible. So we needed to not just fix accessibility of a coding teacher, but think about it in a brand new way. And that brings me to the concept of AI. I'm really just looking at this powerful stuff that we've been beginning and literally touching the edge of possibility with AI for accessibility. AI for Accessibility is really a brand new program. We've launched it this week. The website's live. It's fact sheet information. It's a $25 million, five-year program where we will be investing in technology, in expertise to give to entrepreneurs, makers, advocacy groups, companies, mom and pop shops, whatever it may be, globally, to see what you can do leveraging the power of AI. And really the reason we're doing this is that we have, through our hack projects and some of the stuff you're going to see now, we have started to see the absolute potential that this area of technology can bring to people with disabilities. We're targeting 3 specific scenarios. And we're being very purposeful in this because there are scenarios with the area of disability that we think we can have a really big impact in through this area of technology. One is employment. The employment rate is double that for people with disabilities without. There are so many barriers that exist when it comes to employment. If you just think about the journey that you saw in the autism program, if you think about my own journey of literally getting to the point of writing a resignation letter because I didn't think I could do the job, technology has a part to play in bridging some of those gaps. And we genuinely think that we can, with the power of what comes out, have an impact on the unemployment rate. And that's not just getting the job, getting in the job, staying in the job. It's also the skills that we need to get into those interview rooms. We also think modern life, and you're going to see this with things like Seeing AI. And Seeing AI is really just showing us the potential of how technology can have an impact on just the day-to-day life. Whether it's isolating which herb is it, sorry, American. Who's American in the room? All right, herbs. There's no, you don't pronounce H's here, right? So just being able to understand which is garlic, which is basil, which is cilantro, or coriander. Let me say both languages and then you'll be fine. Just using image recognition to give you some of that power. We believe that it can help in any number of different facets, whether it's gaming, play, getting to a bus stop, whatever it may be. And the last is human connection, and really communication between people. There is a ton that you're seeing throughout this conference on translation, on transcription, and the power of documenting down even what's coming up at the top of the screen here, and being able to see it in the language of your preference. And Harry Shum actually showed that this is working in his keynote. He showed how this is working not just for people who have great voices, but people with unique accents, which includes the deaf voice, which is a very powerful addition to the portfolio. But again, we think we've touched the tip of the iceberg on this one. I get incredibly excited when I think about the prospect of sign language to text, and whether or not that is a future possible avenue for us now, more than ever, in what's going to be coming in the future. And I'm not talking about the gloves people. Who's seen the gloves, where you can translate the gloves? Let me tell you as a deafy nerd, no. Sign language is a language. It is a complex language that includes this as one of 5 components. The hands is just one. But with the power of everything that we now have in the toolkit, it is in the realm of possibility. So those are the three scenarios. Let me now hand over to Mary to walk you through some of the quick demos of what we've seen that you can do as I walk off with my coffee mug, just to keep what I said. And then hopefully we'll have time for some Q&A at the end.
Hey everybody, so my name is Mary. Sounds like my mic's working, so thank you for that. So as Jenny mentioned, we have this AI for Accessibility program. Hopefully everyone's starting to get excited about it. Some of the things that Jenny has walked through already are very much going to continue, right? We're going to continue to make our internal stuff that we're releasing like Office and Windows accessible, but we also want to see what you guys do. And so when we think about the road that we went on to get to the point where we are able to be at Build and have a $25 million program announced, one of the milestones in that timeline was the Build conference back in 2016. So let's take a peek at what that was.
For me, it's such a privilege to have a chance to share the stage with Saqib. And, you know, Saqib took his passion, his empathy, and is going to change the world. And to me, that's what Build is all about. He's here, in fact, at Build to network, inspire other developers, learn himself on how to take his applications and make them better. But more importantly, he's also here to teach. He's got a couple of sessions that he's going to do as well. And to me, that's what makes these developer conferences magical. It is about being able to take our passions, our empathy, and go after the opportunities that we see, go after the dreams that we have. And what Saqib has done has been a real inspiration for me. And we as developers have this tremendous opportunity and a tremendous responsibility. Because not only do we get to dream of the future, we get to build the future. I can't wait to see what you dream up and what you build. Thank you so very, very much. Have a fantastic Build. Thank you.
All right, so that was just a couple years ago, and here we are today having not only an announcement of a new program, but also an opportunity to demo some of this stuff. So how many in the audience are Seeing AI users? Saqib, I was expecting a hand raise on that one. So Saqib is in the audience. Hopefully he's using Seeing AI. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and demo what the app is today. First, quick question. How many people are VoiceOver users on the iPhone? All right, thank you for the hand raise, Saqib. So the first thing I'm going to start with is just explaining how a person who's blind would interact with a touch-enabled device, right? So when I'm looking at my iOS device here, I'm physically going to look and find the app that I want and tap on it. But that's not always going to work for someone who either can't see the screen or can't see it really well. And so there's a screen reader. Windows has Narrator, iOS has VoiceOver. And so we're just going to go ahead and turn that on.
VoiceOver on. Page 2 of 2.
I have the home button set to the triple click. It's the accessibility shortcut for iOS devices. And what it's going to do is it's visually going to show a black box around the item that's in focus. It's going to tell me some of the information related to that object, what its name is, what its role is. And no matter where I touch on the screen, I'm sort of navigating item by item. And when I find the item that I want, I'm going to double tap it. So we'll go ahead and scroll through some of the items.
Edge. Twitter. Seeing AI.
And so it doesn't matter
Double tap to open.
Doesn't matter where I'm touching. And so this allows for a minimization of error, right? Of accidentally activating something I did not mean to do. So we're going to keep VoiceOver on. I'm going to go ahead and launch the Seeing AI app.
Menu. Button.
And so the majority of the interface is an active camera feed. There's a menu item. There's a help icon. There is a pause and play button because some of this is real time. It's happening on device. Others
RRE.
Others have to get sent into the cloud. And then at the bottom,
quick full QRs. A. Document. Product.
There is a channel switcher that allows me to go into the mode that is most appropriate for the context that I'm in. So the first one we're going to show you is the product mode. So I have a soda can up here. I'm not going to tell you what kind. We're going to find that out in a minute. But if I told you that you either couldn't see or couldn't see well, how would you know if this was Coke or Diet Coke? Any guesses? Nothing? Okay. There you go. Dude, you get a t-shirt at the end. Come up afterwards. Okay, so we're going to scan the barcode, right? But now we have this problem. How do we know where the barcode is, right? Tactily, there is nothing different from this can compared to this can. And so the team that built this application thought about this. So in addition to recognizing the barcode, we're also going to help you find that barcode. So we'll go ahead and start scanning the can. And I keep circling it around and around.
Processing. Coca-Cola 6CT.
And so what happened there was you heard beeps, and it happened so fast that you probably missed it. But as soon as it starts to beep, it knows, oh, it's starting to recognize a barcode. I think this is what I want. And then once it has a pretty good photo of it, it captures that photo, sends it to the cloud, and gets some processing done. And we find out that it's Coke versus Diet Coke. Let's go ahead and try it with the other can, just so you know it's not a
Close.
fluke.
Button. Menu. Button. Processing. Diet Coke.
All right, so that's product. That's super cool, super useful. There are products right now out on the market for people who are blind or low vision that cost thousands of dollars to scan barcodes. This is available for free. We're going to go ahead
Close.
and switch over
Button. Menu.
to another
Button.
channel.
Quick pause. Channel. Product. Document. Short text. Pause. Resume announcements.
So this works really well for things with barcodes, but there are a ton of products in the world that do not have barcodes. As Jenny mentioned, we're super into coffee in Seattle, and when you go into the Microsoft cafeteria, there are a ton of sugar packets for your coffee, right? But these little sugar packets don't have barcodes on them. And so Seeing AI has another channel called Short Text that runs on-device OCRing. And so let's see how this would work.
Pause announcements. Splenda.
So I pointed my camera.
Resume announcements.
I pointed my camera at the sugar packet, and it instantaneously read the words that it found, which was Splenda, which was the name of the sugar packet. That's all happening on device. Thank you for the applause. Now, not only are you going to get a shirt, you're going to get a shirt in the size you want, because that's how we roll. Okay, so short text works really great for short strings of text. You're following along, good job. But a lot of times we're interacting with a bunch of text that is in slightly longer format. And so we have another channel called Document that allows more of a full document scanning. So let's go ahead and see what that's like.
Channel, document, channel,
And
document,
so
adjustable.
In the same way that we helped the user find the barcode on the can, we're also going to help the user take an accurate photo of the document. So let's see how this works.
No edges visible. Left edge not visible.
Sorry. Oh, they're closed, it's okay.
Top and left edges not visible. Left edge not visible. Hold steady. Processing. Back button.
Okay, so two things happened there. The first one was it tried to find the edges of the page, which is particularly difficult in this environment with the lights and the fact that it's a white piece of paper on a white tablecloth, right? But I intentionally wanted to show you that it's actually pretty good and it continues to get better. So in scanning that document, what it's done, it's taken a photo and then it's processed that through our OCR engine. And the extra thing that it has done that no other app on the market today offers is it is inferring HTML markup from the text. So let's go ahead and see what that's like when I navigate it with the screen reader.
Scan resolved. Lease agreement. Lease agreement. Heading level 1.
So it said lease agreement heading level 1. The words lease agreement were a larger font size and they were bold. And visually, I would know, oh, that's sort of a section. But what our OCR is doing is that it's inferring that that has an H1 tag to it. And then when I go into the next text,
this agreement executed on May 5th, 2000.
continues to go, does not have that H tag. And the benefit that this offers to the screen reader user is they may not want to read everything that's on this page, right? They may only want to jump from heading to heading. So let's go ahead and make sure we're in the heading section.
Links, headings.
So this is part of the VoiceOver screen reader feature. And now I'm going to jump by heading.
Lease agreement. Heading, offer to rent, purpose, terms.
So instead of going through every single line of text, I can jump right to the terms, which is labeled as a heading based upon our HTML inferred markup. And then I can just read
Premises is not furnished.
just the details underneath the terms. So this is the document channel. Thank you very much. So this is the document channel.
Back, button, back.
We'll show you a
Quick
couple
help, take
others.
pic, pause it, no ed, product, person, currency, scene preview,
So
channel,
we're in scene.
scene preview,
And
adjustable.
So I have an object here, and I'm going to go ahead and take a picture of that object, and let's see what results we get.
Channel, take picture, processing. Probably a hand holding an apple.
So probably a hand holding an apple. So it's offering to you what the level of confidence is, right? It's inserting that word probably. It's also detecting that there's a hand, and it's detecting that there's an apple. But the part that is the coolest to me is that it's understanding the relationship between those two objects. The fact that it is in fact a hand holding an apple. This is our scene channel. It's available in preview. It is not perfect. We're not trying to pretend that it is, but as with all of our cognitive services, it's going to continue to get better. And so this offers something really cool. And then the
Close, button,
last thing I want to show you,
menu, doc, Seeing AI.
outside of the Seeing AI app, there is also the ability to invoke the Seeing AI app in your social media apps, right? So one of the misconceptions that I've heard before, having worked in accessibility for such a long time, is that how does someone who is blind use something like Facebook or Twitter? They use it all the time. They're just like everybody else, and there are continuing to be better and better features focused for people with disabilities in these social media apps. And Seeing AI is now adding into that toolbox of things that someone can offer. So we're going to go ahead and open up Twitter.
Twitter. Oh, you have, okay, button, Meher Kasim.
Okay, so I have a tweet here from one of my friends, and it has a picture in it. So we're going to go ahead and open up that picture.
Landscape, image.
It said landscape
Double
image.
tap to view full-size image.
And so this image is not very helpful, right? I don't know what it is an image of.
Landscape, image.
So if I go into my
Double
share
tap,
menu,
more actions, say, share via, button. Aired, recognize with C.
I can go into recognize with
Processing.
Seeing AI, and I'm given several things. The first thing I'm given is what OCR text it's pulled from this meme. So the fact that it's a quote, it's fine to celebrate success, but it's more important to heed the lessons of failure. It's giving me the scene channel that we showed you of the hand holding the apple, and it's recognizing who the photo is of, which is Bill Gates. And then it's also doing something.
Close, button.
It's giving you face recognition and emotion recognition. So it's taking a guess as to a 45-year-old man with brown hair wearing glasses looking happy, which could be accurate. I don't really know the age of Bill Gates, but fair enough. So all this happens in the Twitter app, right? It's invoking the Seeing AI features. So you can operate in the app and have access to all those channels, or you can go into your favorite social media app and invoke it on any image that does not happen to have automatic alt text.
Landscape. Voiceover off.
So that announcement with Saqib on the build stage a couple of years ago was super important for me because I was part of the original hackathon team. So just like the iGaze wheelchair and learning tools, Seeing AI came together from a bunch of employees who had an idea, and it was about 30 of us in the first team, and we worked for many, many cycles of 24 hours to put together our first prototype, which, as Jenny often likes to refer to as, it was us literally wearing phones on our head with tape, right? And it is now a fully functional iOS app available to the public. So the release right now, this is actually V2. It currently has 9 channels. Handwriting is a really cool one. I encourage you to try it out. That V2 was released at Christmas time, and so the handwriting channel came into, offered a lot of value to our customers because they were getting Christmas cards, and they were able to use the handwriting OCR on those Christmas cards. It's available in 35 countries, which is super exciting. It's English only at the moment, and it is available for no cost whatsoever on iOS. Customers are loving it. They're finding random ways that we never thought possible to use it. And as you may have inferred, the majority of Seeing AI's processing capability is leveraging what Cognitive Services offers through our computer vision API, our face and emotion API, and custom vision as well. And we have lots of great customer quotes. If you want to talk more about this product after, you can certainly talk to Saqib, or I'm happy to go into it in more detail as well. And then the second demo is really short, is related to Presentation Translator. So as many of the sessions at this conference have offered, at the very beginning slide, it offers you a little QR code that allows you to join through the Microsoft Translator service to get real-time captions and translation into whatever language you want. We've gone a step further and offered that as an add-on for PowerPoint. So when you're presenting PowerPoint, you can go into the slideshow menu, go to Start Subtitles. It's going to launch your PowerPoint slide just as you built it, insert a single slide at the beginning that offers that QR code, and then your participants can join, get the language translation, get the captions, and whatnot. So this is super cool. So it's available on your mobile devices, it's available on the web, and it's also available within Office for PowerPoint. And if anyone was in the Harry Shum session on Monday, we had some of our colleagues from the Rochester Institute of Technology here talking about how they are using Microsoft Translator, and in particular Presentation Translator, in their classrooms of kids who are either deaf or hard of hearing. So let's take a quick look at a video of what that's about.
Where I lived, they believed that deaf people can't do anything, so it was very, very difficult. I came to RIT because of the communication access that's provided here.
RIT has 9 different colleges. And NTID, the National Technical Institute for the Deaf, is one of those 9 colleges. We are the world's largest mainstream program for deaf and hard of hearing people. We have the world's largest interpreting services, as well as the captioning group. It's the largest, but we still cannot keep up with the growth and the need for access services. So we decided to use Microsoft Translator as an additional communication tool, which can help RIT on its journey to scale.
Microsoft Translator uses AI to provide another really strong bridge for the gap that has been there so long.
As a deaf person, I want the exact same information that my hearing friends have.
Presentation Translator was easier than we thought it would be. You really just have to click it, and the software automatically reads the content and everything that you have within the PowerPoint system. The Cognitive Services custom speech recognition is critical for capturing vocabulary words that wouldn't be necessarily conventional in everyday life. Students can pick any language that they choose to receive the information. If the professor has chosen English, which they speak, then I can choose whatever language I learn in best.
Do you guys play any video games?
Students can use the app to initiate a conversation with others.
So now that I have my phone, I can see exactly what was said.
There are barriers to communication everywhere, but I think it's time we look at the barriers as opportunities, and then they can be broken down. Microsoft Translator has the ability to provide opportunities to reach out to everyone.
Kind of fun, right? Yeah, you can clap, it's okay, feel free. Or you can do the deaf clap too, which is really good for sensory overload. But one anecdote before Mary takes us back. I mean, we put this into RIT, and they've been just incredible partners. And actually, we were removing it from one of those lectures because the kids had decided to pick a different elective. The kids with deafness had picked a different elective. And we were like, okay, well, we'll move it to that. We'll run the pilot there. And we got almost petitioned by the hearing kids in the room, the hearing students. And we're like, whoa, why are you petitioning us for the captioning? And they said they really, really loved the captioning because they got meeting notes at the end. And they were able to follow through if they couldn't, keep up with what the accent of the professor or, some of the context and some of the words. So I love that it actually ended up being a tool at RIT and continues to be a tool at RIT that isn't just beneficial for cool people like me, but cool people everywhere. And I think that's really the value of accessibility to everyone. All right. So the last couple, as we try and bring this to close, and we have got time for Q&A, is really just to bring this back to why are we doing this. This website went live on Monday. Each of those scenarios, you can sign up for a ton of information. The actual grant application process, which is how we're going to be running this gig, will open in the mid-June timeframe, hopefully before, we will see. But it will be opening in that time frame, and that's when we're looking to really understand what you and many others can do, leveraging AI, leveraging some of the same toolkits that Seeing AI and Translator are based on to work and drive just incredible value in each of these scenarios. So we're really excited to see what comes through and what are those projects and where does your imagination take you. Because seriously, we've just been blown away by the pickup on Seeing AI, the pickup on Translator, and we know that's literally one sniff of what's possible. So with that.
Yeah, let's go ahead and get some questions going. There may even be shirts available for those who are brave enough to ask us a question.
Please do. There are mics. There's a mic in the middle, or you can ask us and we'll repeat it. Mm-hmm.
Well, there will be a shirt, but let me hear the question.
It depends on the question. I mean, we're picky here.
Hi there. So this is great, the live transcriptions. We do accessibility meetup groups, and we were wondering if we could leverage this for our own stuff, because that's always the largest cost whenever we're trying to run a conference or even just an after-work meetup, if we want to offer that to other people.
Yeah, I mean, so this functionality is free download, go for it. The Microsoft Translator is actually an app that's on Android as well as iOS and Windows. Mm-hmm. And then you can also download the add-in for PowerPoint. And I'd say the bar of accuracy is around, and I need to look at the most recent statistics because it's improving really fast, but it's within about 4% of human transcription. I've been dog-fooding this thing for close to 2 years. And I've watched it really improve. And so for me, it's at the bar of accuracy where you can leverage it, but I would never say that it replaces the need for sign language interpreters and cart providers. So, this isn't replacing the incredible humans that support people in a room, but yeah, go for it. Yeah. I mean, we're leveraging it every day now.
And what I'd add is if for whatever reason the translator platform as it exists doesn't meet your specific need, it's using cognitive services, it's using our speech APIs and our text translation, and it's also offering some of our newer preview APIs for identifying one speaker compared to another, and all of that is ready for you to build with.
Thanks.
Yep.
Hi there. I have 2 questions about Seeing AI.
Go for it.
First of all, is there plans to release an Android version?
Love that question. What's your second question?
The second question is, as an app developer, is there any way for me to integrate my app with Seeing AI?
I love that question also. So I will answer your first one, which is the team has a long list of feature requests, which includes being available on other platforms, not just Android, but Windows as well, right? Like, obviously, the core demographic is the smartphone market, but there's value having it on desktop as well. So all of that is there. We continue to prioritize based upon customer feedback. So we hear you. The team definitely wants to do it. It's just a matter of when. And then for your question about can developers contribute back to Seeing AI, also something that we are exploring. That's one of the parts that was rather exciting about the Seeing AI announcement. I love it because it was helping people who are blind or low vision go and explore and be more independent. But it also allowed us to have this conversation with developers in our artificial intelligence org and with developers outside at other companies, because they kind of got it, like they understood what computer vision could do for the end user. And so there is not something that we have at this moment, but it's definitely something that we're exploring.
And I will say that if you look at Seeing AI when it first came out, and the co-founder of it is sitting to your right? Just to call that out. I mean, we all like Holy Grail of Saqib. But when it first came out, we described it very purposefully as a Swiss Army penknife, because it really is an amalgamation of all of the different SDKs within cognitive services. So I also encourage you to think about what you can do leveraging some of the same technology, which is what AI for accessibility is.
Awesome, thank you.
Thanks.
Come up for your shirt afterwards.
There's a question here, so I want to make sure that we get your question, sir.
This is also around the vision. We have an application that displays a lot of data-rich environment. Imagine like a financial application that plots, charts, that kind of stuff. Is there any research or any techniques available to help display that type of information? A lot of data-rich charts.
So I'm going to repeat the question for the audience. So you have an application that's very data rich. So it has things like charts and graphs. And is there anything being done right now to help sort of describe the meaning of those charts or graphs? So what we have right now is a lot of responsibility of content authors to offer these descriptions of the data, right? And what sometimes happens with that is we get sometimes skewed explanations of what is in that data. You might be showing me a chart related to sales, and you're telling me that you're increasing month over month, but maybe there was a huge dip in July. And your description was, this is what I want someone to take away from this. But in doing that, you remove the ability for the viewer of that content, that consumer of that content, to make their own inferences about what points on that chart are of most interest to them. And so, yes, we're definitely exploring what it would be like to not only offer that high-level summary of the most common thing that someone would get by glancing at that chart, but also affording the ability for the consumer to be able to navigate it item by item. And there's a long way to go for that, but it's definitely something we're interested in.
And maybe if I just add one thing, I mean, one of the core tenets of accessibility, if you look at Excel, Power BI, some of that coming through is making sure that charts, graphs, all of that stuff is accessible, and that work's done. Now, there's a lot more work happening on Power BI, but Excel, all of Office 365, if you're putting in data into there, it's entirely navigable, and you can interrogate the data pretty well. So that work as a core, foundational element is done. Next.
Yes, so Seeing AI, it sounds like it's a fantastic app. I haven't used it, but I'm looking forward to. I'm wondering, are there any features in there that allow it to work offline in places where there's no internet connectivity?
I love that question too. So some of them, yes. There's a number of features that happen on device. There's no cloud processing, and so they're using local models. So the short text is available offline. Not all the channels are, though, at this moment.
Okay, so it's just short text at this point?
Saqib, it's short text, and...
You can also plug in names and recognize folks, right, which is done locally for a lot of privacy reasons, right? And Saqib, if there are others, call them out.
Yeah, so like I said, identify people and currency as well.
Cool, so currency, person recognition, not person description, person recognition, and then short text.
Very good. And just a quick second question. Have you guys thought about possibly porting the Seeing AI app to a more ergonomic type of device that somebody could wear or that kind of thing?
So the very first presentation about this at Build in 2016 was showing the possibility of it being offered through a wearable like glasses.
Right.
And so we're still exploring that. There's a variety of ways that we can go about it. It's a matter of finding something that offers the highest quality of the images, whether it's a lanyard around your neck, something on your shoulder, something on your head somewhere, and then figuring out battery life and what people actually want to wear. So
And I will say just one of the, because trust me, we've explored a ton of different devices over years for different projects. One thing that we have commonly got feedback on though is, you really need to ground the research in going down that route with user-based intel, and all the users were telling us with this and a few other projects, this is the thing that I hold and use the most. I don't want to learn something new, make it work with this. And I think there is, so I think it's not to say we will continue to explore, but in everything we do, again, just going back to inclusive design, you've got to ground it in making sure that it's going to meet your audience. And the reason that we went with iOS first for Seeing AI is that the majority of blind users predominantly use iOS. Right, so we're always backing into the reasons we do things based on the user background.
Right, thank you.
All right, thanks. That's some good questions, man.
Yeah.
My gosh.
Hi, it's kind of a general question, but do you know of any R&D or any app development that centers around kids or people with autism on the non-communicative, non-verbal spectrum? Is there anything?
Yeah, so just to be clear in terms of just how we work, maybe just for a second, and to get to your specific question. I mean, so my team sits in one part of Microsoft. We sit in the corporate external legal affairs, but we partner all around the company. And in fact, it's one of those beautiful kind of collaborative gigs. And so the accessibility leadership team at Microsoft is a gang of rather cool folks across every division, including research. And in fact, research just announced a brand new team focused on academic research for the area of disability, which we're really, really excited about. And they've been doing a lot of this work for many years. It's not just a new set of investment, it's more ring fencing, some resources, and really just cementing our investment in this space. And there's definitely a lot of work happening in different ways across the spectrum of autism being anything from intellectually impacting to not, right? Verbal to not. I mean, there's so much variety there. And diversity as there is in any area of disability. So there is, and I'd say that one of the biggest hackathon approaches has been for autism nonverbal. And I think Swift key symbols is the one that I'd seen materialize from research into product. That's one that came out of the Swift key team that's now part of Microsoft. And that's a general communication AAC application that we're seeing get some really nice pickup and results. And there's also Helpicto, which comes out of France. It's currently in French, not English. And that's another one targeting exactly that area. And we've seen, again, just go from research into pragmatics in the same way as OneNote and the learning tools did. But I think, again, there's a lot more to be done there. And if you've got, please come up afterwards if you've got ideas or things that we should be looking into.
I'll add a couple things onto that. So as just to make the connection in case anyone in the audience didn't make this one, there's a wide spectrum of people who have autism, right? Not everyone is nonverbal, not everyone is verbal. There's a mixture. And so when we think about the nonverbal scenario, there's also other disabilities that do fall into that nonverbal space. And part of our responsibility is to make sure that we're showing the value of intelligent experiences across different disabilities, right? Seeing AI works really great for people who are blind and low vision because our computer vision APIs right now are at the level where it's become useful. And we need to do more to represent the other disabilities. But would love if you have some ideas to certainly apply for it.
Yep. Thank you.
Hello, thank you. Great presentation. Just a question. In the Seeing AI, if you scan a product and you can't find the barcode for whatever reason, it might be a very local brand, is there a possibility to just, I don't know, type this program or update the information into the cloud and just tag it with this information so that you can, I don't know, that the local company maybe scan their brands or products?
Yeah, so there's two parts to it. One is, can the user help train? And the other is, what are we doing to expand the number of products that we understand, right? So we're working with a couple of different barcode databases right now. There are many more in the world that we could be doing. So there's certainly products that we don't recognize by barcode today, but a large number of them we do. So that's one piece of the work, is us making sure that we have feeds from those different databases. And then to your second point, We're not currently allowing the end user to provide feedback directly into the system. It is something that we are exploring. There's some privacy concerns around what that all would mean that we're trying to navigate, but it's not something available there right now.
Okay, thank you.
Hi. I'm a volunteer in a nonprofit called Civitan. We're a worldwide civic organization, and we do have a focus on helping individuals with various special needs or developmental disabilities. And I was just wondering what Microsoft's doing as far as maybe partnering with organizations like us or other ones, showing, hey, we've got these tools available that we like people to use because they're really making a difference in their lives. If we were interested in wanting to help spread the word, what you have available, or any kind of pilot programs or scholarships, or in the video we saw the RIT and they were talking about how they're really great with what they're doing. It would be great if other schools, not necessarily college, but even elementary schools or middle schools or whatever,
Game on. I think, so very broadly speaking, we do partner with a lot of different NGO organizations, and broader than that. I think one of the headaches that I definitely have is helping people broadly to know what's in the box. I go to a lot of events and talk about accessibility, and people aren't always aware that there is so much joy in Windows, in Office, in all of the things that most people have, and where to find accessibility and where to find these apps, let alone how to use them. And so our responsibility is really making sure that that stuff is easy to find, easy to use. We even have now a dedicated support team, Disability Answer Desk, or DAD. We love acronyms, particularly fun ones. I have no mom, but I do have a DAD team, which is a dedicated support team for customers with disabilities, and it takes about 300,000 calls a year right now. So we're desperately passionate about getting the word out of the opportunity there is with tech. We have color blindness filters in Windows, for goodness sakes, right? You can navigate Windows with your eyes thanks to a beautiful hardware device, $150 hardware device from the guys, I'm pointing to the guys, Toby guys, that are sitting in the audience here who produced that piece of hardware. So we have a ton of stuff in there, and I think that's our opportunity as well as our responsibility to get it out there. And we love ideas of how you could help us to do that, or ideas of what you'd want to see in your technology, or opportunities for the audience that you represent, as you work with that organization. So yes, do let me know afterwards. I've got a program manager whose job it is to focus on this, and we do, again, focus across the spectrum and globally with different organizations to help do that.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that one up.
I saw from the automatic alt text generation that was all in Office. Is there any plans of porting that into Edge? Right, documentation, and we've got just terrible alt text for a lot of our documentation. It'll just say image, and having that be able to be automatically generated would be phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yes, game on. I think this is the power. The AI for accessibility is really to see what you can do, right, and to see what developers around the world can do. We got a ton of opportunity ourselves to really start embedding it, not just in Word and in Narrator, our own screen reader, and how that navigates different parts of our infrastructure, but also broader than that. And I think, again, it will never take away the manual reliance that we have on people. You should always be checking what automatic alt text brings back, right? Don't presume that it's good, people. I want you to have eyes on it, if you give my pun. I want you to check these things through, but again, we want to see that density and that propensity across the platform. So, we've definitely got these things as opportunities for us to get after. Because I think if you look at website accessibility, if you look at a broad range of things, it does bring into view a world of opportunity there. So in the works.
And the one thing that I'd add to that is there's the one side of the website and the web developer, but then the other part is what can the AT do? What can the assistive technology do? And so we definitely have a lot more to do around the web development side, but something that we have started to do was infuse AI into our assistive technology tools like Narrator, which is our screen reader. And so if a user does come across a picture that does not have alt text, they can use the same automatic alt text engine that's working in Office to pull a description. That doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be accurate, but they do at least have that lever to pull if necessary. But at the end of the day, there is a global regulation around having meaningful alt text on your images that the web developer and the web owner cannot get around. So we still want to focus on that, but it does highlight the opportunity to make AT smarter too.
Okay.
Along with that data application I was describing, we present alerts for danger conditions. Those need to be fired immediately.
Yeah.
The problem that we're worried about is if we come up with our own method for alerting vibration and whatnot. Every application does that. You're quickly getting inundated with everybody doing their own thing. Are there standards that we can look into? Does that make sense?
Yeah, so your question is going back to your example of the data-heavy application. One of the features is having an alert or a notification that something has happened, either a piece of equipment has gone down or sales have spiked or whatever the case may be. And is there a standard way to handle those alerts? Yes, there are. It depends on the platform that you're working in. Is this a web environment or desktop? Okay, so is it running on Windows? Okay, lovely. Then you have lots of options with our UIA, our accessibility API, for handling the notifications.
Fantastic. I think last one, sir.
Bring us home.
There's no more complicated user interface than Visual Studio. Are you doing anything special for Visual Studio to make it available to programmers?
Heck yeah. I mean, if you just look at Visual Studio, and it's so, just the broad spectrum of what we do, what we have to do as a company is assure that our stuff just works across the spectrum, whether it's consumer use or dev use, right? And so actually the Visual Studio team has been really on top of making sure that Visual Studio itself is accessible, right? We want to see more blind admins, more blind devs coming into this spectrum, let alone any other area of disability. So yes, and I can get you the specifics on where they're at if that's helpful to you, but that team is all over it. In fact, Saqib was part of a hack project last year to see how we could make that even more intuitive. And Saqib's got more ideas than he has space in brain. But no, there's a lot of clear focus on, I would say, making sure the basics are in place with Visual Studio, and then seeing what else you can do to empower others with that as well.
Right. That was my question is, obviously you can make individual panes accessible, but can you bring the meta process of programming to the accessible level?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And that is the goal.
Okay.
Yeah, so two resources to point out. The demo that Saqib offered about how he uses his screen reader with Visual Studio is available online. If you just look up Visual Studio screen reader, it's usually the top one. And then the other thing is just recently at the CHI conference, which is a very big conference for research and innovation, one of our Microsoft research teams just presented a research paper on a idea called Code Talk. And it's building off of that same demo that Saqib did, and it's offering a lot of audio feedback. So I highly encourage you to read the research paper. It was fantastic.
Great. Thanks for all your hard work.
All right, folks, thank you so much for being here. Thanks for the time. If Mary said you got a shirt, come on and get them. They are cool, and we really appreciate it. And please, please, please do check out the site. I look forward to seeing applications over the summer, and we can't wait to be up in the middle of the night reading them. So thank you so much.
Yeah, so this is your spark. Go start that fire.